Thank you so much, Tim, for coming and taking time to spend with us here today and with me at Fstoppers. You've been making a lot of waves in your work with the AI. I was reading some of your past interviews, and on your interview of discussing Nothing to See, you said that your work is showing that resistance is the new normal. And if that's not the theme of your current life now, working in AI, I don't know what is, but for those of you that don't know, Tim has started since January making work. Am I right to say exclusively AI work?
No, that's
No.
not accurate.
Okay.
No, I mean, I've been posting AI work on my social media channels, but I'm still working in multiple levels and multiple. I'm working on multiple TV commercials. I'm doing photo shoots. I'm still doing that, but as a point of self-expression and point of exercising my creative mind, and to challenge myself between the divergence of what other people hire me to do and what I imagine. I'm using my platform to share the work that I choose to share.
Yeah, I love it.
So no, I know I'm not working exclusively in AI,
Okay.
and that's a point of contention for me that I'm frankly contentious about because I'm doing any AI, I'm immediately being discounted for all the work that I've done up to this point and being labeled and boxed and criticized and attacked because I am being an artist and I'm exploring creativity. And to me, that's unacceptable, but it's not something that I should expect anything less than what I've found in 25 years of photography is that photographers, in a broad generalization and stereotype, are bitter, jealous people that want what other people have.
Mm-hmm.
And I have felt that just because I've exploring an incredibly powerful tool and sharing my knowledge and insight of having lived through many mediums, if that is justifiable to hate and to discount and to completely, and completely characterize me as a monster, then I don't want to be a part of that community.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And to discount the 25 years that I've led in this industry as an innovator and a creative that has inspired others and that has been overly emulated to the point of literally people taking my images and making websites of their own in order to try to get work out of my own images. Like if I haven't earned any credibility, the fact that I'm being attacked by small people in this case is exhausting, and it happens
Mm-hmm.
every single day. And that look, I'm putting myself out there to teach audiences that these people like you're it's a tidal wave that's coming.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't make this tidal wave. I didn't create it. I wasn't part of any development team. I wasn't part of any scraping of the internet. In fact, my images are in the data set. There's nothing I can do to stop it.
Mm-hmm.
So I better learn its capabilities
Mm-hmm.
and find out if that's going to be a way in which I'm going to have to visually communicate moving forward.
Yeah. Well, and that's also why I wanted to talk. We're kind of jumping out of order here. I was not going to go straight to all the
No, I
criticism
mean,
you've
I think
gotten,
we need
but
to rip the Band-Aid off because your audience particularly and some of the editors and writers have trolled me and
really.
have tried to get me to engage not only in Twitter but also in Instagram. And like I've seen the editor at Fstop, right, senior writer at Fstoppers, like I've seen that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know there are people out there that like look like why are you hating on an artist who's creating?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't get to tell me what tools I get to use to create and express myself and share
Mm-hmm.
my point of view with the world. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you can be angry about it, but I don't go to your Instagram and talk about how childish your and cliche your photography is. Like, I don't go and leave comments about how, you're ripping off, so and so style, and that your lighting technique is shit, and that you don't understand how to double key light and all this. I don't go do that.
Mm.
So what gives you the sense to come to the artwork that I'm creating and completely attack me and my form of expression? Like, for me, like, you know that just shows, I mean, that just shows a lack of respect. Like, I've been making work that's been inspiring people for years and years and years, and you should look at my experience and say that, like, hey, this guy's transitioned from film to digital to CGI to Photoshop composites all the way along. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I I I did Photoshop composites for anybody,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I did Photoshop composites before, people were like, "Oh, your work's just like Joel Grimes." It's like, no, Joel Grimes' work was like mine,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that like, I've always been on the edge. And so if there's anything to learn from that, like, maybe the audience should have a little bit more, less anger and more wisdom to say, like, wow, like, maybe there's something to this. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that we're all going to see, and after the anger fades
Mm-hmm.
and after all the hate fades, that they're going to be like, oh, there's actually something to this. The same way that there was something to Photoshop,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wanted to learn how to use Photoshop.
Mm-hmm.
There, like, when's the last time you heard someone say, is that Photoshopped? Right? Everything's Photoshop now.
Yeah.
That used to be the first comment that people made about my work. Oh, it's Photoshop. And they would
Mm-hmm.
discount me,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then and then that never happened anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So those, I think we're seeing that same kind of process of anger and hate, and look, like, it's the Wild West,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's a completely new medium, and no one knows about the copyright or what the legal rights are going to be. But I can guarantee you, like everything else in our society, it's going to boil down to money,
Mm-hmm.
right? And these platforms can't make money if you can't copyright what you create.
Right. Right.
If Photoshop was like, hey, anything you make in Photoshop, we own the copyright, no one would use it.
No.
Right? They would find another software package would open up that would allow people to copyright it, and they would use that.
Mm-hmm.
So don't you think that commerce and this tool will come to alignment? And just like you can go buy an AR-15, right? Because commerce runs our government, and you can have a mental health problem but still buy an AR-15, like, because of money. Don't you think that the Adobes and the Microsofts and the Googles are going to go to the copyright office and be like, hey, you guys got to figure your shit out, because there's billions of dollars to be made, and here is $1 billion for your campaign to sort this out.
Yeah.
It's going to get figured out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
It's
for us to
inevitable.
have this myopic argument that you're not going to own the copyright is so short-sighted, because the reality of it, it's commerce.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes it easier for brands to make content cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to want to be able to control the copyright and the trademark to the content that they create.
Mm-hmm.
So they have money at stake. So they're going to push the copyright office.
Mm-hmm.
So all these things will be settled
Mm-hmm.
because of commerce,
Mm-hmm.
because it boils down to money,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's not down to art or who created it, or it's not down to, what we think as artists. Like, personally,
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm going to be destroyed. Like, my individual art was so borderline between photo generated CGI and actual photography. And even though it's 100% photography, it had its own aesthetic, but that all gets replaced. Like, that all, you can't no one knows the difference, and the audience doesn't care. The people who buy my art don't care that it's photography. They care about the statement.
Yeah.
They don't care
piece.
about how it's
They
made.
They care about the piece.
They care about the message. They don't care how it's made. So I'm just so exhausted from photographers having such a small vantage point of the actual landscape and not being able to see that we're not talking about now. When this first came out, everybody's like, oh shit, like the fingers aren't right and the eyes are weird and the hands look weird and blah, 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 blah. And then a month later, the hands are fine.
Yeah.
Right. And in 6 months, the eyes are going to be fine. And in a year, it's going to be 100 megapixels.
Yeah.
Right? And it's going to continue to evolve at lightning speed. So the same way that if you go back and you pick up an original digital camera and you can't shoot above 200 ISO and the colors are green and horrible, but now look at it.
Yeah.
That's 20 years. What we've come from 2.7 megapixels was the Nikon D1, the top of the line digital camera at the time in 2000 or 1999, 2000, to where we are now with 150 megapixel cameras that are, and 50 megapixel phone cameras and things like that. Like, this is going to evolve.
Yeah, the technology will catch up to the idea.
And it's not going away whether or not, like, even if Mid-Journey gets shut down by the Supreme Court, from a copyright case. And by the way, that'll take, years to figure out, and it'll continue to exist. There'll be a software service in China that you can VPN sign into. Yeah. There'll be one in India that you can VP sign into. And all these people that are bitching about copyright, like, have they ever tried to defend their copyright in China or India or, other parts of the world where you can't? I mean, there's people with selling clothes with my images on it in India. I can't do anything about it.
Wow.
Right? Like, there's people in China making art with my work on it. There's people in Africa walking down the street with my work, selling it in the streets at stoplights.
Wow. I
can't stop it.
Yeah.
So this veil of copyright doesn't really mean anything unless you have billions of dollars to defend it.
Right. Because it's all about
enforcing it. So what's the point anyway?
Right.
Like, all these people are like, you can't defend the copyright, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, have you tried to defend your copyright? I have. Right. And unless it's like whack-a-mole, you either hire a copyright troll to go out and fire off thousands of letters, which are out there, and that's annoying and pisses a lot of people off because you lose total control over it. Or you go around each individual person and it costs you thousands of dollars to at best get like a takedown.
Yeah.
Right. So there's all this like misinformation around it that I think is doing a disservice to photographers. Right. Like, people that want to make their living as commercial photographers, I can only speak to that. I'm not speaking to anything else.
Yeah.
And fine art photographers as well, because I think that AI generation will impact art photography as well, because it creates a whole nother like realism that will be an aesthetic that people will seek out.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so I'm answering a lot of your questions in one question.
That's fine. Touching on a lot of the things that you spoke about just now, one of the reasons that I wanted to talk, and for our audience watching, Tim was a little hesitant to talk because he's received such negative and hateful, sometimes even pushback from the art community. And to be honest, when I first saw some of your pieces, I was like, I had that first instinct, the same thing. What the hell? Like, that's cheating. That's not fair. And when I've spoken to people leading up to this interview, I hear them say this very simplistic, childish sentence: that's cheating, that's cheating, that's cheating. And at first, I felt that way. And then as I saw your pieces over time and I read what you wrote, and I started thinking, wow, these are so beautiful. And also, the thing that I love about your work is already you can recognize the AI pieces as your pieces. You are creating a cohesive body of work that is in your style. If it pops up on my feed, I'm like, oh, Tim Tatter put a new piece out. And so you're creating a cohesive body of work. Even the body of work that you're creating now is in alignment with kind of the style that you've had previously. It's a very much a continuation, in my opinion, of your work with this new medium. There's a new medium, whether we like it, whether we don't like it, it's there. It's not going anywhere. And you, as an artist, have taken it and continued to create art that is unique to your aesthetic, that is unique to your creativity, your boldness, your political views, your world views. It's like somebody gave you a paintbrush and you made something and took it away. And then they gave you a camera and you made your work and took it away. Then you gave you a computer and they made your work and took it. But it's very you. It's cohesive.
Right.
So my question is, I stopped and I asked myself, what made you so mad about it? What made you so mad about it at the beginning? And I realized that the thing that made me mad about it is that I felt threatened. And instead of embracing, like, this is a new part of art. This is art. This is a new part of art. If you don't want to use it, you don't have to use it. But
it's a new tool.
If somebody else wants to pick up a camera, or somebody wants to pick up a paintbrush, or somebody wants to pick up an India ink and pen, or they want to pick up AI, why are we mad about it? And when I asked myself that question, why was I mad about it? And I realized is because I had a fear of becoming obsolete. And that was I really had to think, like, why would I be mad about an artist that I respect, who's creating work that's some of the most gorgeous work I've seen in decades? It's not computer generated out of left field, like, it's Tim Tatter. It is you, it is your style, it is your brain, it is cohesive with your work. And I really had to think, like, why am I upset about this? I should not be upset about this. I should be excited about this. And I realized that for me, and I can't speak for other artists, I had a fear of becoming obsolete as a photographer. And so my question is, when people respond in general, in life, when somebody responds like super aggressively to something towards you, towards us, maybe a family member or something, they just like pummel you with something you totally didn't deserve. Usually they're not actually responding to you, they're responding to something that you triggered. So what do you think for people that are just so outrageously upset and aggressive about this? What is it, do you think, that they're feeling so threatened about?
There's a few things with that. And you're precisely right. And look, like, I'm overly sensitive because because I've poured my heart and soul into this industry. I've been a leader, I've been a speaker, I've been an advocate, I've been a mentor. I've made myself accessible. I've raised money for the industry and photographers. I supported people when people were down. Like, I've done a lot. I've given a lot to it, and to receive so much hate back, and you look at the comments on the articles and things like that. And I know that that's just like, you shouldn't do that, but I'm a sensitive human being because, like, people say that people say that you should separate yourself from your art, and I don't believe that. I think great artists are their art. Mm-hmm. and they're like, you shouldn't let art define you. And it's like, well, if my art is true, it's a part of me. So even what I create, and I'm glad that you could pick up that I've been able to create a style, because that's another thing where people are attacking me and they're like, you didn't create this, AI created it. And I say, well, go ahead and look at this art. And that's why I'm exclusively posting AI on my feed. So I could show people that it's a cohesive choice, that I am directing this tool in my vision, with my vision and my sensibility, and that I can align what I do in the camera with what I can do in real life. And that should eliminate any arguments from people who are like, you didn't make this, AI made it. And it's like, AI didn't sit down and spit out images for me. I sat there and labored over these images and image sets for hours and hours and hours. And then I curated it, and then I fed it back into AI, and then I pushed it further, and then I mixed this image and this image in Photoshop and put it back to AI and had AI regenerate it. And I went through a process, right? And that's part of the process that they're deciding right now in the US Copyright Office, and people and an editor at Fstopper has attacked me on this, is that they're deciding right now how the artist plays a role in the creation process with AI assisted art. They're deciding that. And people are spending billions of dollars like Adobe in order to make sure that the artist has the copyright so that they can license and sell and distribute this content, including Adobe, for revenue. Right? Because I can't go to Coca-Cola and say, hey, I'm going to generate you a campaign full of AI art and then sign their PO that says I own the copyright, right? Like I can't do that now.
That was one of my questions.
In 6 months, you're going to be able to do that. Or when they solve this, you're going to be able to do that because there's money to be made and saved. And these platforms are not in this for altruism. They're ultimately in it to make money. Now, the whole question of copyright. Let's just like dig right into them scraping the internet and stealing all this work and stuff like that, because that's a big thing, right? And am I happy about that? Absolutely not. Would I have ever given permission for that? Absolutely not. Did it happen? Absolutely. Is it? People think that it's a collage thing, like they took all your images and they have them in a database, and when you type in photography in the style of XYZ photographer, that they're looking at all their images and pulling pieces of it and making an image. That's not what they've done. What they've done is put mathematical representations on each image. They've scanned it, right, and turned those images into numbers and put together a mathematical algorithm that says, like, Annie Leibovitz always uses this, this, and this, and her models share these same characteristics, and her lighting shares these same characteristics, and her color choices are these characteristics, and her casting is this characteristic, and her location has this feeling, and this has this feeling. And then it regenerates from scratch that style. If we're going to sue people over style emulation, then every single photographer who has ever created is guilty.
Yeah.
Right? And because they're generating it from learned information, not from collaging, it's a different thing. That's the misunderstanding. Is people think that they're actually using other people's images. No, it's learned. It's learned the characteristics and traits, just like the AI editing softwares that are coming out. If you feed it 500 of your images that are
I started playing with that.
It knows your choices and it'll edit it for. It's the same technology.
Yeah.
Same concept, right? And so people misunderstand the technology and they come very aggressively with misinformation. And look, AI is fundamentally not a good thing for humanity, right? It is fundamentally a bad thing for humanity. But humanity is greedy. Humanity wants profit, and this is profitable, right? And the reality of it is that I am a visual artist, and in order to be effective as a visual artist, I need to communicate with lots of people. And in order to do that, I need to have my work be seen and get out there. In order to do that, I need to use relevant tools and relevant techniques in order to garner attention. Because attention is what makes me valuable. The fact that I can get people's attention and keep people's attention. And right now, AI is top of mind for everyone. Therefore, as a contemporary artist, I am using the tool of top of mind in order to get people's attention. And I've made a very clear voice with my work. And it's not about, hey, look at this pretty picture. It's thought-provoking about the concept of using AI as an artist, and the entire journey from January 23rd when I started until now is an artist statement in and of itself of an established artist who has been a paid creator for 25 years at the top level. My journey and my experience with using this new tool, and that in and of itself is a work of art.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my statement. And people miss that completely. They see the individual piece and not the larger artist statement of an established visual communicator exploring the most powerful creation tool ever made. And no one can argue that. This thing is infinitely powerful. You can do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm an established artist using this, like digging in at its ground level, pioneering what it's capable of, what its results can be, what its problems are. And I've talked all about that.
Yeah.
People are missing that. And instead of like going like, oh shit, I can learn a lot from this process, it's like, you're a cheater. This is bullshit. I have no respect for you. Like those types of feelings are coming over and over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I just block them now. Like I try not to engage, but every once in a while I have to engage because somebody just pisses me off so badly. But people are missing the learning opportunity here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there is a tremendous amount to be garnered from my experience, right? Like read the journey.
Well, and I think also part of it is, in exploring my own response to your work is a lack of understanding of the art form and the process. So for example, I thought that saying like childish fundamental, that's cheating. But for an article I was writing, I then opened DALL-E, I opened Midjourney. I was working on this campaign and I put in my thing. No, that's not what I want. No, yeah, but no. And I swear I sat there for like an hour and I was like, and then I was like, pull this out, took this. I like this from this one. I like this from this one. I mean, it was so hard. I mean, it was not, I thought that I was going to write skincare bottle with black cap and purple background with gold flicks, and I was going to get no, that is not. I got some of it on this one, some of it on that one, some of it on this one. Like that one, I don't know, they were drunk when they made that one. Like it was a mess. It was really hard. It was frustrating. If I did finish any of the pieces, I would have, like you said, had to pull them into Photoshop, composite them, maybe even pull some stuff from my, like,
yeah, I mean,
it's a huge process. It's a huge process.
And it's an insult. People are showing their ignorance with their insults of pretending it's so easy, right?
Yeah.
And look, like, that's fine. Like people are just angry and upset, and I get that. People are mad at the process. People are frustrated, like you said, that they're worried about being obsolete. So am I. Like so am I.
Yeah.
Right? But the reality of it is that it doesn't care how I feel, and people don't give a shit about how I feel.
Yeah.
And they're not going to me not using it is not going to stop it. So there's all those things. Right?
Exactly.
But I can tell you, it takes me hours and hours and hours to make cool images and to make a story.
And to make consistent work with the work that you have put out thus far. Your work is recognizable. When it comes up, that's a Tim Tatter piece. I don't know how it was made, but that's his work. And that's what I think validates it so much. If you've tried using the software, it's very hard to create something specific and intentional with it, to create something specific and intentional that fits a long body of work, a political message, a social. I mean, it's a huge thing to create an AI piece. And I feel like maybe some of the responses that the art community has might just be from a lack A combination of a lack of information about how hard it is to make and fear. Do you agree with that?
100%. And look, let's just first off say that it's not photography. It's
I had to
photorealism.
do that in my head.
Right.
I had
Right.
to
It's
wait. This is not
photorealistic
photography. This is
illustration.
a new
Okay. So
this is a new thing.
right. It's its own thing.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't ever try on any of my posts to pretend it's not AI. I call it AI photography
Yeah,
because
I see it. Yeah.
I believe that it is AI photography because it's artificial intelligence understanding of photography. I'm using photography language. I'm using photography techniques. I'm using photography tools. I'm using photography history. I'm using photography understanding situations, close up, tight, macro, super wide, extreme close up. I'm using photography language. So therefore, I have the right to call it AI photography. And by the way, like you don't have the right to discount how I feel about it or express it. Like people are like, it's not photography. I understand it's not photography, but I'm going to call it AI photography.
Yeah.
Right. Like because people can understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so like that's one argument I hear over and over again. And I agree, it's not photography. It's something else. But it can replace photography. Yeah. And it will replace photography in advertising campaigns, in commercial campaigns, in magazine articles. Like, look, I've had a major publication reach out to me and say, we want you to go photograph these people, then put them in AI and make some of your AI shit out of them.
Oh, that's cool.
So like this, people are going to use it in different ways for different purposes, for different ends.
Yeah.
And if we don't figure it out, there's going to be other people that maybe have no experience in photography that are going to take your work, right? And at least you have an opportunity to say, I can do that, or here's my offering, or here's my portfolio of AI. You're going to have your portraits and your whatever and your fashion, and then your AI.
Yeah.
And it's going to be part of your tool set.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been trying to tell people, screaming at them, like, you better figure it out. And you better, make a choice whether or not to use it or not. That's up to you, but educate yourself.
Yeah.
And, look, like,
try it and
right.
See, is it really
are you creative?
Cheating as people think they are? Because it's very hard.
99.999% of photographers, they go to other photographers' websites and they're like, I want to do that, right? And that's their creative process, right? So this is just another tool that gives you, rather than go to like Google and search, women in red dresses, like imagine what you see and try to communicate and learn, like, okay, now, and then if you want to use that as inspiration and go shoot that.
Yeah.
Right. If you really are an ethos person, my personal opinion is like, it's hard. It's going to be hard for me to spend 5 figures, to create an art piece, to invest in hair, makeup, wardrobe stylist, location, studio assistants, all these things in order to make a visual message that lives on this screen, because this is where people communicate and how people communicate, and they don't need 100 megapixels, right? Because I'll reach 1 million people with this device in a day, but maybe 60, 70 people walk into the gallery.
Yeah.
So if I'm a visual communicator and I'm in my job is to have my ideas, my political views, my point of view, my worldview, the things that I became an artist in the first place to do, to think that I'm going to do that with 60 people visiting a gallery versus reaching 1 million people every day. Why? And this is terrible. I don't agree with this, right? But I've spent millions of dollars a year producing photo shoots and putting that money into the ecosystem, right? I know what that is, right? And I know that it's going to be very hard for people to spend that money to create an image when they can create an image with a few sentences
Yeah.
and no cost.
Yeah.
And that's a sad reality, and it sucks, and I don't agree with it. But I can't personally, I can't go into my pocket and spend $10,000 or $12,000 for an art project, right? To create images that will get the same amount of attention that images that I can create with a few sentences. And that is going to be the sad reality of what this AI is going to do to our industry. And it sucks, but that's the writing's on the wall for that, for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
For sure. And, look, like the writing's also on the wall for like people assigning photographers. They're going to be like, well, I want you to do a shoot, but I'm going to pay you, $200 an hour to do it in AI, as opposed to, $10,000 a day.
Yeah.
That's a reality.
Yeah.
We got to figure out other ways in which to do it. It sucks, but like 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, it's going to be a very different landscape. We're at the very beginning. It's not ready for that. But slowly, more and more people will adapt it. Like during Fashion Week, Montclair did a huge AI campaign, sold, fashion line on Vogue.com, like huge AI campaign. Like magazine covers have been AI. I've created magazine covers with AI. Like it is slowly happening the same way that the transition from stills to digital or from film to digital happening. You know what I mean? Like one person used it, then another client used it, then another client used it, then another client used it. And sooner or later it was like, no, we're only shooting digital.
Yeah. Well, our time is going to run out, so I just wanted to close in a cohesive way. But I just wanted to thank you. I know that you were a little hesitant to come on. You've gotten a lot of backlash. But I know for myself as an artist, just seeing your work made me think about my response, and you changed my mind about it. So for all the people that are maybe vocal about hating on you, I know that there are a lot of people that you've opened their minds to. I think in time, when people adapt to the new technology in their minds, which will probably be very extensive, you will be one of the pioneers. And I wanted to say, I just love your work. I think what you're doing is amazing. And from one photographer, I applaud you, and thank you so much for spending the time together today.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'm overly sensitive, but exhausted, and I wish I was better at not wearing my emotions on my sleeves. But this has triggered definitely like a lot of just confusion, and I'm just trying to help people understand that like learning and creating is not a bad thing, and we should all do a little bit of this, especially with this tool. Learn something, create something, challenge yourself, and with that, if you